On today's show, we hang out with cannabis CEO Priscilla Vilchis. Plus, we check in with Chelsea Rendon from Vida, and we find out how your Vida has been going under quarantine. It all goes down on today's The Zoo. All right, welcome to The Zoo, and we're just making sure that
6
we
feet.
are social distance.
We have 6 inches of give for gesticulating.
I'm not gonna make a joke about that one. But yes, good. So this is a special quarantine edition. I am joined here by the Dongle's one and only Andres Valencia. What's up, my man?
Oh, you know, just glad to not be in the same, have the same, like a different 6 feet in front of me.
Okay, and just for disclosure, we did not coordinate before we showed up today with a skeleton crew and keeping distance that we'd both be wearing pretty much the same jeans and shirt combination. This happens a lot. By the way, do you remember the day that we showed up to the office and we go for a group picture, we noticed everybody was wearing like a dark gray shirt?
We all wear the same thing.
Oh my goodness, it happens automatically. So this is the quarantine edition, man. How are you holding up during this quarantine?
Oh, you know, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, I think I've watched everything there is to watch, and then I watch those the vacation shows. And then I skip from like that makes you want to go outside. But now I'm just watching like sitcoms just to be like, man, that'd be a nice house to spend all my day.
But I don't want to go down that rabbit hole because we have a quarantine Q edition of the Zoo, and that's another episode that you guys gotta catch, and we'll hopefully not be as coordinated. But some people, you know, I was talking to my ex when this was all starting to happen, and she's like, "Oh, you're tailor made for this quarantine," because I think people misguide me a little bit. You know me very well. Yeah. I'm a very extroverted person, but I can also be antisocial.
You're like an extra bomb.
Right.
Extrovert bomb.
It happens in bursts.
Yeah. Like he works in like an office within an office.
It's a panic room.
It's a little office panic room for where we would put if there was another Cuban, he might be in there as well. But and you're like usually on your own, producing, writing, preparing, and then you get 10 minutes of like just full this. And then he goes right back to like But so I have an easy time being by myself for the most part, but it's been kind of weird. What about you? Can you, because you're a people person, you like your space, you like your 10-minute, you kind of like this bubble. I know. I mean, social distancing. I like if I could wear a hula hoop just in my whole life, I would wear a hula hoop that would tell people, some people need to like. Some people need to walk all the way around my desk to talk to me, and I'm like, you're right there.
Talkers. This
is
the
please.
Total end
Jeez
of close
Louise.
talkers.
Close talkers and handshakers.
Yeah.
I don't mind shaking a hand.
Yeah.
Cheek kissers.
That's done.
As a greeting is
that
over.
Is done.
Face lickers. It's creepy. Don't do it.
Ronnie does that one time.
Fool me once.
What do you think about this move to virtual meetings, virtual dates? People have been saying actually, though, I read somewhere that people thought this was going to be like a baby boom because of the coronavirus, and now the stories are coming out that it's like, no, it's going to be a divorce boom from the coronavirus. Few people are made to spend that much time with each other, and then and you can be as compatible as you want, but if you're spending, even your kids, like you spend that much time with someone, and eventually like. Everything that you have to like compromise or give on, you're gonna compromise and give on in a week, and then the next week it's like, and I think it's an up and down. Yeah, this is where I'm kind of happy living by myself. But what do you think about this? Okay, so let's go down this rabbit hole. Now everyone's getting used to like virtual meeting, virtual dating. I've been on a couple of virtual dates. It was kind of weird. Blind dates that I'm meeting the person for.
I used to think it's insane to FaceTime with strangers, to like FaceTime as a pre-date kind of thing. But I mean, we're millennials.
Right.
Maybe millennial cusps,
I'm
but
on the
millennials.
Cusp of, Gen X and millennials.
The thing is, we're built to survive.
Right.
I think the kids, the Gen Z and the Gen Y, they live in their phones anyway.
Right.
Like it's just going to be something different to take a picture of behind you or to dance in front of. I'm starting to see now the younger kids are posting memes about I can't watch another millennial try to figure out TikTok.
Yeah, it's funny. Ha! Millennials are getting old. That's it. It's about Gen Z now.
Okay,
so this is where I'm gonna go down. I went down this rabbit hole. I think I sent you an interview where Vice did with Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
About how like because there's gonna be a necessity for contact tracing, meaning finding out who infected people were around, and it makes complete sense that they're gonna want that. That it's just gonna amp up this whole surveillance thing that we have on our phones, computers.
Yeah, I mean, to assume that there isn't a computer, that knows where you are and what you're thinking and how likely you are to buy the next thing that comes up is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just like, can we get another, like, can we survive this crisis before we're like fully aware of just how much surveillance and information and privacy's over. I think privacy's over.
Well, privacy
I think
was done,
privacy's
10,
dead.
15 years ago.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, everything that helps someone that requires a lot of resources is going to be exploited.
Yeah.
And when it comes to technology, it's the same thing. I think there's very little choice without a vaccine or with just accepting, for the short-term future, 20% of people, you're just okay with them not participating. I'm not saying dying, but like if you open everything, then you got to be cool with, okay, we're cool that 20% of our workforce, essential workforce, everyone who's working so hard right now, we have to be cool with them not being at work. Yeah. They could be sick, their family members could be sick, they could die, or else you got to do what like other countries have done who have jumped ahead of it, which is you got to know who's sick. Right. And where they've been if they've been sick, and who they've been around if they've been sick.
Well, that's what South Korea has really implemented the contact tracing into the phones. But here in the United States, I think Apple and Google are hooking up about that. But there's always civil liberties involved, and Americans are a little bit more like, you don't want to be watching me. I don't got anything to hide, but yes, I do. But yeah, it's interesting. But I mean, that was happening already. As far as like you said, there's just no more privacy anymore, and I think that all our information is being fed into this like larger AI, which will kind of wake up into its own awareness at some point, and that's another rabbit hole that we're gonna have to save for another time because we gotta go to commercial. So we're gonna be coming back, and we're gonna talk about something I actually got accomplished during quarantine, and you've known about this for a while. I wrote a book. A lot of people are reading and writing. What else can you do during the quarantine except watch us here on the Zoo? So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back here on the Zoo, and something that, people have been going on like Amazon sprees. Now, before we get into like the book thing, which is what I want to talk about, I've been going down this rabbit hole on like skateboarding documentaries because like I was a skateboarder as a kid, and then I always thought of California, Southern California culture, skateboarding. When I came over here, I just really got into the history of it, Lords of Dogtown. So by the end of like this documentary, I had bought a Vision streetwear like vintage T-shirt, a Santa Cruz skateboard, like old school Vans. Are you going on any shopping sprees on Amazon?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know why I keep buying clothes. I think I'm trapped in the algorithm of like, I looked at shoes once.
I'm trapped in the algorithm. That's amazing.
I have no choice.
Yeah.
Someone figured out how many times I need to see something before I buy it, and they're doing it every day.
I know, they know you have no choice. Now, one thing that a lot of people are doing during the quarantine, they're reading, and some people like myself have also been writing, and I finally was able to finish and publish the book I've been working on for a few years. It's called Fever.
Fever.
And you can check it out. The subtitle's Fever. Read this before raving. You can look it up on Amazon, get it on Kindle, get it in hard copy. And it's based on a true story about the Cuban kids that started the rave scene in Miami, and it got just all out of control. But it was something that was pushed. We were going to actually release it later in the year, but the publisher we were working with decided, they're a small publisher, their other books were selling more than anything.
What made you write about that?
I went to raves as a kid, and then I went to the raves of these guys that started it. And they became urban legends because it was mainly two guys, and one guy went to like prep Catholic school, and he's the one that I wrote it with. It's based on his life. And then his partner was more from like Little Havana, which is more like the inner city, Miami. That guy was born in Cuba. It came from, in Miami there's a slang, and it's kind of derogatory, but I'll explain. It's called ref. So someone who's like fresh off the boat, we call them ref, which is short for refugee. We don't really use that word anymore. You don't want to use that word, but back in the 90s, it was kind of thrown around. So this kid embodied that just like hood thing. And the guy from the street started robbing drug dealers in his raves because he thought, it's my rave. And at first it was just like nickel and dimers, you know, kids, no one that was going to do anything to him. But he started working his way up the chain. And yeah.
So what was it like? Was it an escalation from like after parties or house parties? Like how does the rave scene?
Well, so the beginnings of the rave scene in Florida and all over the country, and Florida was really known for its rave scene. And there's a book that came out called Generation Ecstasy that in the late 90s by Simon Reynolds, who wrote for Rolling Stone, was really the first EDM writer for Rolling Stone. And he talked about, you know, the rave scene really kind of started in New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, but also Florida. Because Miami did have a lot of Europeans coming in, a lot of New Yorkers going down, and Miami also had a bay scene and all that kind of thing going on. And so it started in just like in the other places, underground clubs, hangars, you know, fields. It was a lot of the beginning ones were illegal, but these guys, because they were like club promoters in South Beach, they're the first ones that got a club on South Beach to let them throw a rave. So they threw it in a club. But the club was a gay club. It was an institutional gay club called Warsaw, all right? Doesn't exist anymore. Now there's Jerry's Deli there. But it was the first big, cool gay club that threw house music and had the drag queens with the club kids. And they were the only club that said, yeah, you kids want to throw a rave here? Okay, Friday night's open. Come, bring your friends. And so it would go on till like noon the next day. And I was 15 years old. I snuck out of my house, and it was like, my friend is like, all right, we're going to go to like this crazy club on South Beach. We're just going to use a fake ID. This is mid-90s, so they didn't care. You had to be 18 and over, not 21 and over to get in. I used a fake ID of some military guy. And we sneak in, and it was like a wall of bass hits me, and you get inside, and it was a crazy scene. It was like the club kids scene. The end of the club kids, late 80s, like, you know, meeting the beginnings of raves, but had that Miami flavor, so there was also B-boys, breakdancing, and it was just like this hodgepodge of people that you wouldn't see getting together otherwise.
And then they took it too far. So somehow that's
yeah, it was a honeymoon. So the first year was beautiful, and what was cool is like you kind of had like these street, like, I'm gonna use the word ghetto, but it's kind of like almost it's actually like a compliment, like in that scene. Yeah, man, like hardcore guys hanging out with like drag queens and gay kids and artists and hippies, because you had the hippie ravers, and they were all, and then you had preppy kids who were just adventurous, like myself, and they were all together dancing, and we're like, oh, we all get along. You know, there was lawyers next to guys that were just out of jail, and everybody was just having fun. But then, because there was a lot of people using drugs, the guy that was a little bit more hoodie went from being super open-minded and like you know, reinventing himself to realizing, wait a minute, there's all this money being made in my party, and I'm some tough guy. So he started robbing. Now the guy that I wrote the book with, his partner who was organizing the party, he didn't know what was going on behind his back. So like people would come up to him like, hey, I'm looking for your friend. If I don't find him, I'm gonna have to deal with you. He's like, what's going on? They ended up, Johnny Dominguez is the name of the guy who started robbing people. They ended up killing him. He was found face first in an alley. And it could be anybody from New York mobsters to Colombian cartel to Israeli, you know, Russian ecstasy dealers.
What else was, this was 90?
This was like, from 95 to 99, 2000.
So what else was going on in Miami?
Well, you know, that was the beginning of the introduction of that drug ecstasy, and so a lot of like, you know, drug dealers were bringing it in through Miami. Remember, like in the 80s, before there was always a lot of drugs being brought in through the Southern California, southwestern border. But in the 80s, it was through Miami. It was through Southern Florida. It was, you know, through boats and through the swamp and stuff. So you had the remnants of that, even though it started dying down because the feds really cracked down, and then it started pushing a lot of the, you know, cartels to go through the Mexican border and all that stuff. But you still, in the mid to late 90s, you still had remnants of drug culture and drug dealers and all that stuff. And so because the rave scene was so underground and kind of like a subculture where a lot of drugs were used, you know, you had an influx of all these like evil characters. In the beginning, it was this beautiful thing, hippie parties and everyone's liberating, but then you have the, what would you call it, the vultures, the criminal.
Anytime there's money, someone's gonna find money and recklessness.
And Miami, it was the Wild West. Listen, in South Beach in the mid-90s, You could be a 15, 16-year-old kid with a crappy fake ID that we made on like the beginnings of Photoshop, all right, and just laminate it. And it was liberal as hell. You could just go into a club. It was 18 and over to get in, so you only had to have a fake ID that said you were 18, not 21.
So what's left? Like, what do you think survived?
Okay? So I'm gonna give you guys the quick thing and to put it into what's relevant today. You know, I still go to festivals, and a lot of times I go with Bruno and stuff like that. The culture of the rave scene of the 90s is now the festival culture of today.
Okay.
So even when you go to like Coachella, half of it is EDM parties, and then the other half will be a concert with like hip hop and rock acts. And then when you go to like Burning Man, Lightning in a Bottle, Ultra, Electric Daisy Carnival, it's like all EDM. So what happened is in the 90s, because of all these issues with drug use and drug deaths, in 1999, they passed a thing called the Rave Act. And the Rave Act made promoters responsible for any deaths in their parties. What happened is you couldn't be like a promoter throwing a small party at a club anymore. You could only do it if you had a big festival and had major security and you could afford lawyers. So the EDM festival scene is basically the rave scene of the 90s, just at a bigger scale for about $300-400 a ticket. But if you want to know the roots of it, or at least a story that really reflects the roots of it, check out my book, Fever, by Bradley Smith, with me, H.C. Guida. And Bradley Smith is actually Cuban. That's his pen name. The reason why he doesn't want to use his real name is because the murder of his partner is still an open investigation. Wow. And he's kind of like, you can find out who he is if you do your research, but I promised him I would only refer to him as his pen name. Quick story before we go to commercial. The reason he uses Bradley Smith as his pen name is that he owns a business, and when he deals with people from the Midwest, he realizes that like, they don't like the Cuban Spanish name, so he had a pen name that's a white guy name. And that's the story behind Fever. Check it out. Cool, man. So we're going to go to commercial. When we come back, we're going to kind of keep, this is kind of like the underground edgy episode, because we're going to talk to a cannabis entrepreneur. Her name is Priscilla Vilchis. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we are back on the Zoo for a quarantine edition of the Zoo. I'm here with the Dongos, Andres Palencia, who was brave enough to come out here, because we know this is essential. You guys need something to keep you company, and that's us, but we are keeping our distance. So you know how here in LA and in California and in pretty much every state, they close down non-essential businesses. Yeah. But here in California, Colorado, Michigan, Washington, you know what's still an essential business and is open? Cannabis dispensaries.
Well, there you go.
People need to have weed.
First of all, we're finding out everything is essential. The only thing that isn't essential is like gathering 15 people in an office building to talk in a like tight room.
Right.
We could do that on Zoom. You don't even have to wear pants. Yeah. Extra like thank you to essential workers.
Right.
Like the grocery people. I genuinely haven't met nicer people, I think, than whoever works at the Ralphs and the Vons and the Sprouts and the Trader Joe's and the Vallarta and the Northgate and then obviously the healthcare workers, the restaurant delivery people, Amazon Prime people, and the weed dispenser. I don't do weed.
Right.
But I feel like being at home so much makes you want to like explore a vice. And I don't know that drinking is something because it's like, now you got to be, like, first of all, you got to drink alone.
Right.
Which doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun, unless you're writing country songs or, doing a poem or whatever. And then you got to deal with the hangover the next day. That just seems like a nightmare in quarantine to like not feel healthy.
Right, exactly. You hate
so,
yourself the next morning. But the weed
ganja
dispensaries are, I appreciate the people there. So I spoke with a guest that we've had on the Zoo before. She is the leading, not just Latina, but leading female cannabis entrepreneur. She's the only woman, I believe, or maybe it's since the last time we talked to her, maybe there's another woman that has it, but she's the only Latina that has a license to grow, distribute, and transport cannabis products between California and Nevada. She drives a Rolls Royce, and she.
It looks like a boat. Yeah, it looks like a boat.
Yeah. So I wanted to know how the cannabis industry was affected, because dispensaries are open and it's a big business, but they can only deal in cash, which is part.
Really?
Yeah, they can only deal in cash. So Well, she'll tell us a story about how she's dealing with it. She has her dad is the head of security, and she's keeping business going. Her name is Priscilla Vilchis, and check out this conversation.
What's up? I'm here with Priscilla Vilchis, cannabis entrepreneur, VIP extraordinaire. Are you driving in your Rolls Royce right now?
You know what? I decided to take the Jack today, not the Rolls Royce.
So I wanted to get you on the show to, find out a little bit about like how, this whole quarantine is affecting the cannabis business and what you're doing in your business during this lockdown.
You know what, guys? We didn't see this coming. No one did, right? Most states are still allowed to go to a dispensary and buy their product. But Nevada's governor said that dispensaries have to shut down and only do home delivery, a style of Postmates and Uber for marijuana. So, it's just affected our business, slowed it down, I would say 80%. And it's a team effort, and it's just that, they can't come to work yet.
Now, here in California, dispensaries have been able to stay open. They're labeled as, I guess, essential businesses. Now, a lot of people have criticized that who are not into cannabis. What do you think about that?
Listen, guys, cannabis is essential. We've got people who want to smoke weed instead of taking, antidepressants, and that's okay. You don't become addicted to antidepressants, oxycodone. If you have pain, someone had surgery, I would totally recommend for them to take an edible to numb themselves. So I think we agree to disagree, right?
Talk to me about how you got in the game as a Latina, what kind of reaction you had from people, and how it's either the pros and the cons, the obstacles you had to overcome.
Well, you have to remember when I applied, I was 27. It was extremely expensive. Because I was a Latina, I had to, make sure that when I sat at the table with men, I had their undivided attention. And I did exactly that. I did the unthinkable. I broke glass barriers. Women, write me every day. Thank you, Priscilla Vilchis, for, doing what you do. You've inspired me to start my own business. So things like this, are the reason why I enjoy, being a trailblazer.
Are you guys involved in the growing of cannabis?
Oh yeah, I'm one of the largest and only females in Nevada, 25,000 square feet grow. I'm inviting you over to come check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've talked before this all happened. I was planning to go shoot something for LatiNation. Hopefully, we're still gonna do it later this summer.
We're so excited. We were expecting.
Yeah, we're still gonna do it because I kind of want to see you at work. But I'm glad that we can talk about this.
I'll even put you to work so you can trim a little with me.
Can you characterize what has led cannabis to be normalized in our country the past few years?
I would say the fact that everyone has allowed us to pay them in cash. I'm talking, we literally have to, we've hired people just to go make our payments in cash. And I think that the fact that everyone has now been okay with accepting it and it's not a big deal anymore, the marijuana industry is here to stay. And I would probably see federal banking very soon.
Once this is all over, I gotta get my camera guy. I gotta head up to come over, and I want to see what you do.
You should do a whole show on Reina.
Yes.
It would be, and I'll take you around. You'll be able to smell the plant, see us cut it, see the CEO trim it. Then I'll take you to the dispensary so you can see that aspect. Right. It would be a hit.
Dope. And like I said, I have experience trimming, so I can help you with a little bit of that. I'll put in some work.
I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Stick with us, because up next we talk to Big Mike, who's handing out masks to the homeless here in Los Angeles, and you'll find out why. We are back on the zoo, and up next I talked to a guy named Big Mike, and he made it his mission to hand out masks to the homeless people because they're not really being taken care of right now. So, okay, the mask has been like an issue I've taken up, but I'm making a funny observation. You know that I was the first one in here. Actually, you got the mask that I didn't bring today, but I have one of those. You got one of those, yeah. I got one of those for Burning Man.
No, I paid way too much.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it protects me from. And to be honest, when I first put it on, I'm like, this was definitely like glued together with very toxic glue.
That's hilarious. I know.
So I put it on and I hung out with the psychedelic elephant in my living room.
That's funny. Well, you gotta rinse that, man. You gotta rinse that and dry it off.
I've been Clorox wiping everything.
Okay. Yeah, I made the mistake of like putting some like, something that I thought smelled like some Sal 33 or whatever it's called fragrance, but then the same thing, I was like all irritated. I'm like, I just...
Like wearing a mask is one thing, but being a glasses guy,
Oh,
I'm a
yeah,
glasses
it
guy.
fogs you up.
Jeez Louise, I got to go to the store like not knowing what's in front of me.
I know.
Or I got to wear the glasses, or I put it over or under.
Well, you know, I went to the pharmacy with the bandana on, like this, and like in the beginning, before people were really wearing their masks, and I turned around, and there was this old lady, like, looking at me, like if I was robbing the place.
Well, can you imagine?
And I had to go. I go, I'm just wearing this to protect myself.
But to protect you. Can you
you know-
imagine being a robber? No one would take you seriously.
I know. But look, I was big on the mask because I think that if you are going to be indoors and around people, it's something. Is it foolproof? No, and some masks are better than others, but it's something. But now people have gone the whole other way. They're driving by themselves with the window up with the mask on. It's like, guys,
Who was
the first
in
one
your
with the
car
mask on-
coughing?
Yeah.
Who was in your car coughing that you need to wear? Or do people think it's in the air, like it's just floats?
I just think that people, I understand why officials have to gather themselves and say,
But you have to-
how should we express the truth? Because if we express it one way, they're going to go this extreme.
Well,
and if we express it the other way, they're going to go this extreme.
People go too far. Because I think the thing at the beginning, the backlash against masks was the same thing that happened with toilet paper, the same thing that happened with, if you mention it, people go online, they buy in bulk, the wrong thing, it sells out, people who really need it, it creates like a whole cycle of everything. When at the end of the day, it's just like, you might be sick, you might be contagious, especially like when this whole thing started. So, cover your thing, like lower your,
I'm protecting you by wearing this as well. So, so check this out. We got a conversation with a really cool guy, Big Mike, and he decided that no one's giving out masks to homeless people, so he decided to take on that cause. Check it out.
I'm here with Big Mike Stromaeatis, but I'm just going to call you Big Mike if that's okay.
That's a lot easier. That's why everybody calls me Big Mike, because my last name is a mouthful.
Awesome, man. And what you've been doing during this crisis is you've been part of this organization called Heroes for Humanity.
Humanity Heroes. I started it 10 years ago in Bulgaria, and now we have a chapter. We're doing it also here in LA. And the whole premise of it is who's the most people who are the most impoverished and marginalized, and help those folks. And in Bulgaria, it was low-income homes. They don't have a homeless problem like we do. When I got to LA, I saw the homeless situation. I said, okay, what can we do to help them? So we started to hand out backpacks just filled with all the essentials that a homeless person would want and need down on Skid Row. We've been doing that for the past 4 years down here, handed out over 9,000 backpacks. And then the coronavirus hit, and we're going, well, backpacks are good, but it's not going to save lives. What's going to save lives? We came up with the idea, washable, reusable cloth masks. And in the next couple of weeks and next months, we're going to be handing out more and staying down there and helping them through this pandemic. And then also we handed out 700 masks to Providence St. Joseph's Hospital down here. And the reason we chose them is because they will help anyone regardless of their financial situation or their ability to pay.
So you're going down to places like Skid Row and handing these out directly?
Yeah, we actually went to the shelters and handed them out to the shelters. The shelters are passing out on Skid Row.
What's it like in the shelters during this crisis? Because obviously a lot of people are staying home. They're not going out.
Yeah.
Some people that might have volunteered before, they haven't been out there recently.
Right. Well, first of all, they're not practicing social distancing at all. They're in groups, and there's more of them than ever down on Skid Row. When you go down there and you look, you just go, wow. There's a crisis down there, and they need to do something about it. I know that the city's talked about putting them up in hotels and all this. They need to do more of that faster and quicker, because that is an infestation point that's at some point is going to be explode, be out of control.
So obviously right now you're doing the mask thing, but is there something that you have your eye on once this crisis starts to die down, or are you just focused on the present task at hand right now? Right now,
I'm just getting them healthy and making more masks. Probably going to make another 17,000 masks. There's 50 to 60,000 homeless. Some of them are in shelters and in hotels and this kind of thing. So I think we should probably pass out probably another 17,000 masks are going to be passed out. Then after that, reassess the situation and get those backpacks with essentials out as soon as this thing passes to ease their discomfort.
A lot of times people need to depend on the government and programs to help them out. But when you see private people like yourself, individuals, from the private sector, like you said, wanting to give back, that's a huge bonus for society. Tell me a little bit more about why you feel that's a responsibility you need to take on.
I don't know. I guess maybe I was raised Mormon, though I'm not a practicing Mormon now, and some good values were instilled, and I think people should be helping people. Look, after this whole pandemic thing is over with, we're going to take a hard look at ourselves as human beings, and we're going to have to ask ourselves, how can we start treating each other better? More importantly, how can we start treating this planet better? Because the universe has given us a warning, a knock at the door, if you will. And if you're going to try to beat Mother Nature has a lot of tricks. There's an avian bird flu. If it crosses over to us, 60% mortality. That's going to devastate the entire planet. We have to treat this planet with love and care, just like it's given us.
So I have my N95 mask, but you're right about it not being able. It's hard to wash and reuse. It's you know, once you wash, you gotta let it dry. It'll take like a day. So I think you're onto something where they can kind of reuse it and stuff like that. How have they been? Oh, you got one there?
Yeah, these are the masks right here. So made in America, right here in California. And what I like about them is they got a hook, so they go right around the ear. They're easy to use. Come on, and away you go.
You know, those actually look way better than these. Those are fashionable. I got a feeling that we're gonna, we're gonna still be wearing masks in closed areas and places where we're around people for some time to come, even as
we are.
So I think I'm gonna need to get my hand on something that looks a little bit better, because I just don't think I'm gonna make too many friends wearing this one. I kind of like the one you had. All right, thanks a lot, Big Mike. Is there anything else that you want to add before we let you go?
No, that's it. I would just thank you. Just if you want to get involved, if you want to join, go to joinhumanityheroes.org. We would love to see you there and help participate in this.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your work, and thanks a lot for being on LA TV on the Zoo.
All right, guys, stick with us. Because coming up, we're going to show you some of the highlights from our IG Live. All right, guys, we are back on the Zoo, and one of the things that we've been doing, because we've all been in our own homes, is we've been doing a lot of IG Lives. Have you been following those?
Yeah.
It's funny the things that we do at our house, man.
I think, I almost feel like this is the moment that makes social media stuff more personal, where it started to become, they're saying like the influencer kind of like big marketing trend, it's going to be their first recession. The way businesses have been just like paying some guy to say, I really like this, or paying someone to now they're like, well, you know, now you're actually in people's lives. Now you're in their home.
Right.
Yeah.
But are you also saying this because I also see more interaction between friends on social media than before, whereas before it was kind of like trying to scroll down, seeing something's interesting, and of course certain influencers are bumped up, and
Look, I'll tell you what changed in my life is, number one, I hate phone calls. Don't call me. Text me first. If you call me,
on that one.
Oh my God! If you call me and my phone rings, I ignore. I open my text message and I go, what? Because that's what it feels like. So I'm like, we'll just do a give and take. This sounds abrupt to me. This is abrupt to you. Now I'm the guy who like, I will just FaceTime my friends. I will take my phone out if I'm like parking or so. I'll just FaceTime my friends, and then they'll feel bad because they're good people. They're good people who have manners.
Hey, you want to call me? I'm gonna take it up a notch. I'm gonna FaceTime you, and I'm not gonna. Let me tell you something. I've never FaceTimed or done any video chat with anybody without clearing it with them that I'm going to be doing that. Are you?
No.
I even do that with calls. You know that my friends. Hey, are you available for a call? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna call you now.
No. Now I just do it. But I get super annoyed if anyone does it to me.
Oh my God.
But I've never been more ready to after like 10, 11 when I'm awake. I'm pretty ready for life.
Have you been going out and do you make your own coffee or do you go out and get coffee?
No, I make my own coffee.
Okay, no.
I switch it up.
Well, the thing is that I have the McDonald's app and it's $1 coffee any size till May 3rd. So.
I would think you're germophobia.
I was.
You're germophobia from people.
We sent it to the IG Live. So I've been going to this McDonald's by my house, and then one day I go there like a week and a half ago, and it was closed, and there was caution tape around the drive-thru and the entrance.
On Sunset?
I called up McDonald's.
Someone sneezed.
Well, I called the McDonald's Corporation. I was like, what happened? Turns out they were closing for the day to clean. Good. Anyway, check out our IG Lives. They're off the chain.
Like I said, I have been a big Soup fan for my whole life. I've been loving watching you on it. I actually didn't know that the show had went on for as long as it has. I thought it was just you and Joel. I didn't
Yeah,
realize.
the show started in '91 with Greg Kinnear. It used to be called Talk Soup because all they had was talk shows to pick from. And then slowly over time, you know, Hal Sparks, John Henson, who's my favorite, Aisha Tyler, it became, you know, more of a fruitful universe of reality TV. And now more than ever, we're introducing everything else, like the social media stuff, TikTok, anything headlines that, you know, anything that we think is funny, if we all laugh at it, it's making it into the show. So that's been cool.
Now, when you go on a show that, I mean, the soup is iconic. Was there any pressure? Did you feel any pressure when you got the job?
No, yeah. You know, definitely I had moments where it started to get to me where people like, so many buses. Who's taking a bus?
How dare you? We're doing an interview.
Don't take a bus right now.
Stop it. Stay home.
Stay home.
Hashtag stay home.
I felt a lot of pressure because people are so into Joel. You know, he was the host for 11 years, which I totally understand. And like, I felt a lot of that pressure, but once I kind of got into my groove, I think people started to accept it more. And I kind of just had to shut everybody out and just allow myself to have that time to kind of find my own groove. And, you know, I can't be anybody else but me. So it's like, why even try? So yeah, I'm glad that I like pushed through, because I think by episode 5, sorry, I'm pouring some water out of this plant.
No, it's okay. I was like, well, you're giving the viewers a little show.
Little plant, yeah, little plants over here.
I love it.
I finally got my groove and we had to stop. So I'm like, no, you know.
Well, what's going on right now that when the soup is ready to be back in filming and this is all over, what can you not wait to talk about?
Well, I mean, I've been like binging Love Island UK so fucking hard. It's actually like, I like can't get enough. Once it's over, I miss them. I'm like, what happened to them? Where are they now? There's so much stuff I can't, I mean, New York, The Real Housewives of New York, the first episode, I was screaming through the entire thing. When Ramona had that breakdown, I just couldn't handle it. And I texted Countess Luann and I was like, your body looks incredible. So the Housewives are really, they're delivering this season. So,
but you're going to places that Joel hasn't gone with the soup, because the soup is now international. You're an international superstar. It
Very
launched
exciting.
this week in South America. How does that feel?
That day was a huge day for me because a lot of people don't know, but I'm from Brazil, born and raised there. I was raised there. So to have a show like with Brazilian subtitles that my friends and family can watch, it's surreal.
I was so impressed with your promo for the soup. Can we just talk about the flash dance?
Oh yeah,
with
the real soup.
So you only had a couple of takes to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
No pressure.
No pressure. I knew that it was like, there was so much pressure in the beginning because the guy who had made the rig from scratch, because actually on the show, on the real movie, when they did it, it was a stunt double, because the water hit so hard that it could have like really hurt her. So they had to like create a whole rig, and there was only 2 takes that we knew we had to get. So I was just arching as hard as I could and hoping for the best. It was such a rush, like the adrenaline. I was like, whoa, like, and yeah, our marketing team's been incredible, and just like incorporating all my ideas and like putting theirs in, and it's been a real collaboration. So it's really exciting.
Well, seriously, I am so excited that you came on to chat with me today.
Oh, I'm so happy that we connected. I saw your messages after my agent reached out. So I was like, oh, thank you for doing that.
Yeah, we have the same agent. How you doing?
Laura.
So seriously, congratulations. You deserve all the success in the world.
Thanks, you too, honey.
You can stream episodes of The Soup on the E! and NBC app. I have earpieces in, like I'm in the air room control center.
I love that.
Yeah, that's right. Just like Kathy Leonota. So, and you can catch The Soup, which is airing now in South America.
All right, guys, welcome back. We are here. I'm here with the Dongles, Andres Palencia, in our quarantine edition of The Zoo. How are you holding up?
Good, actually.
Good.
I think.
Oh, I think so, too.
Thanks to Netflix and...
Well, so speaking of which, up next we have Dennis interviews Chelsea Rendon from Vida, who, here's a funny story. She helped us with our pilot, do you remember?
Yeah.
She was our guest on our pilot.
Really cool.
Yeah. We're like, oh, this one has a lot of attitude, and look, it's gotten her places.
Yeah.
She was actually the scenes theater on Vida, which is entering its last season on Starz. And we've had pretty much everyone from That's one of those shows where we've had every single actor.
Well, look, I think it's been a renaissance for like Latinos,
right.
and specifically like in the like LA creative.
Yeah.
Like Hentified is the coolest thing I think in the whole world. It's so
Awesome show.
cool that like all those guys who we have like come through the door, been on our shows, hung out, collaborated with, been in projects, have their Netflix show.
And speaking of friends, you know, we might have shown a highlight of her, but Jade PRADA, who was
Yeah.
in a sketch show that you and me produced for a whole year, monthly. Sometimes we did it in front of like 70 people, and sometimes we did it in front of like 10. Okay, and Jade PRADA was kind of like our scene stealer. She was like our awesome, you know, female comedian that just stole the show every time she came out on stage, and it's cool to see her as the host of The Soup. But bringing it back to Chelsea Rendon, she spoke to Dennis, and here are some of the highlights from the interview. Check it out.
It's a very good turnout.
Oh, you're blowing up.
And this is just the beginning. I'm going to replace those pictures with these.
They're so gay.
In your honor.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to thank you so much for taking out the time to do this interview with me. And I was just wondering, do you feel that this third season wraps up the storyline, or do you feel that something was perhaps left behind?
I mean, I feel like there are a lot of things left unsaid, but that's just like the nature of this show. Like the structure of it and the storylines have never been normal, you know. And I feel like that's Tanya's style, and it would be weird if she had closed everything up perfectly. So I think she just did it to be like satisfying enough, but still open-ended, you know, because their lives don't end. The show ends, but like these girls are gonna, you know, keep going. So I think that's what she wanted it to feel like.
That's so nice. So I have to address this because I don't think anyone else has. The one thing that had me laughing throughout this entire series were the sex scenes, and I was just wondering how you ladies felt while doing these scenes. Was everyone completely naked on set? I mean, perhaps not everybody, but were the actors involved in these scenes completely naked, and did everyone see each other's chalupa?
Everybody was naked. We made everyone get naked. The camera, the crew, everyone was naked. Just kidding. But you
kind of had that though with the orgy scene.
Yeah, I had that experience. Like 20 of us naked in a room. It was kind of amazing, honestly. It was the most comfortable that I was ever, you know, in a sex scene during the show.
Now, favorite memories on the set. Which one of you two would like to expand on that and tell us your favorite memories while filming Vida?
I mean, I feel like I know Melissa and I, before we started shooting, made it a point with this season to just try to hold ourselves accountable to trying to enjoy as much as we can, because you know it's work, and we're up early, we're, you know, doing difficult scenes, and we made it a point to do something every weekend as a cast, you know, anytime we were able, and that's something that I'm really glad that we did, because we were able to, you know, whether it was a hang at someone's house or a barbecue that someone, like Roberta threw a barbecue at my house and invited everybody before I realized everybody was coming, and just, you know, there was just fun things like that. And I think that what I love about it is that I think that we're going to continue doing that stuff for time to come.
Emma, what are you doing? No bar staff on drugs.
I'm going to fearlessly partake in not giving a...
All right, well, I hope you're ready for some serious dehydration and an existential crisis.
Now, I do have to ask, can both of you reveal who were your favorite sex scene partners on camera?
Well, obviously for me, it was Carlos, because he's the one that I spent most of my sex scenes with. He was the most constant in the 3 years that we did it. And he's so respectful and such a good scene partner. And actually our first ever nude scene in our lives was together. So we kind of have that connecting thing, and we were both scared, but we were like, we're in this together, and that maintained a constant throughout. And I'm very lucky that I got to work with him.
For me, I think it's definitely Roberta. I mean, are very close, just now as people, and I don't know, we just like laugh and have a good time, and it's just and she's easy on the eyes, so I guess that helps too.
Well, that always helps. Let me tell you that much.
It makes my job a little easier.
Once again, thank you so much for talking to me, ladies. And I know that you can't see me, but I did want to let you know that I've been wearing a queer señora dress while doing this interview.
What? Damn!
Again, I hope you're safe. I hope you're having a good time wherever you're at. And I hope to see both of you again real soon, but in person this time.
All right.
Take care.
For sure. Enjoy your queer señora.
All right, guys, that was it for our special quarantine edition of The Zoo. I hope you guys are staying healthy. Keep socially distant, but not emotionally distant. And the way you can stay emotionally in tune is you can join us here on The Zoo. We're going to be still doing our thing. Same good time, same good channel on LA TV. Till next time, peace.